You couldn't hear us.
All right.
Oh my gosh.
Now we can hear you. My bad. Yeah, we are having some technical difficulties right now, going through a whole bunch of different things and just trying to figure out why it's not streaming on my Facebook personal page, but it's constantly streaming on my Raise Your Voice. So please say something in the comments. Let us know that you're here. To the 15 people watching us right now, we salute you. Thank you for joining us.
Yes. So what I was saying was I was trying to figure out which necklace to wear because I feel like the white is just so bland, even though it's matching Jamie Callisar so well. But I think I'm liking this blue one for sure. But here we are again. Last week we had the privilege of having Mark and Candace Nicolo share their story with us, and it was just such a phenomenal story of strength, of resilience, of love, and yeah, it was such an awesome conversation. I hope that you all enjoyed it as much as we did, and still keeping her in our prayers. I think Sunday I went and ordered some products, so I can't wait for them to come because I am down to nothing, absolutely nothing right now. So today is a brand new conversation. We've been kind of going back and forth in terms of how to approach this conversation. And so this week we actually, I think I saw it first. Someone sent it to me and then I sent it to Jamie. Duvall, I don't remember his last name, and Kahdeen, they actually had they have a podcast.
Lauren is here.
Hey,
Lauren. Sorry.
Oh, hey, Auntie Lauren. All right. So basically, they had a conversation from their podcast, and that's the topic we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about sex, and we're going to talk about
say it.
Sex in,
You said sex. Say sex.
Sex. Just like that?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. People can hear it.
Okay. So of course we know that this is a topic that's like people literally tiptoe around. And I'm not sure why we have tiptoed or why we have brought, I don't know, like shame to this topic. And so today we're like other things, we're really trying to make things that are or were taboo, just talk about them. Because at the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, people are doing it. Like people are having sex.
People doing a lot of it.
Yeah. So especially during these quarantine things, we know that everyone's doing it. Not everyone. I don't want to say everyone. That there are people who are having sex, and
yeah, a lot of babies gonna be born 9 months from now. I'm gonna do a lot of baby dedications. A lot of baby dedications.
I know. We want to also say that, of course, we promote sex in the context of marriage. I just want to put it out there, but we definitely want to be real with it and know that people are having sex outside of marriage. Real talk.
Facts. Horns.
That's horns. We're the horns.
Hold on, let me see if I can. Please let us know if you can hear the horns.
Those were horns for sure. So we want to go ahead and get into this conversation, but we really did not want to have this conversation by ourselves. We felt that this conversation requires different perspective. And so we brought some special guests to share their perspective on this topic, this hot topic on sex. So first things first, we have Tiffany LLewellyn, who she actually interviewed us yesterday on her platform.
Yeah, Black Hope.
Yes, and so today we're going to have her share her perspective because we know she has a lot to share. And we also have Jordan.
Let's bring her out.
You want to have like a bring her out.
Bring her out. There she goes. Give her the horn.
Oh my gosh, what is happening?
Lit.
Next, last but definitely not least, we have this couple who are super near and dear to our hearts. We absolutely love them to pieces, and they actually just got married about 2 months ago, I think it is, guys. Yeah. about 2 months ago, and it's none other than Chelsea and Jordaan Houston.
Bring them out. Bring them out. Give them the horn. Give them the horn. Okay, Jordan got the old man dance.
This is where I stay at. I don't leave here. That's my
I don't know if he's praising or dancing. Which one is it? But we love it.
He's doing something.
We love it. We love it. So I'm super excited that we got some of our favorite people that we admire from afar and close up. Just a tremendous work that you're all doing in the different areas. So Carlene, what's up with this conversation? What happened?
All right, so are we able to share the video?
I don't think we are. I think pretty much most people have seen it. If you've seen the video by, was it Kahdeen and what's his name? Duvall. And I mean, I'll let you talk.
You want me to talk about it?
Ladies first.
I'm going to, he gave it to me. Now I'm going to take the ball and toss it to Tiffany and just have her kind of give a roundabout.
Nobody don't want to touch it.
Hey, I'll grab it. Thanks for the alley-hoop. Thanks for the alley-hoop. So, summary about the video. They were discussing monogamy and just expectations in their marriage, right? So, from Duvall's perspective, he raised the question. I think he raised the question first of, based on his sex drive, based on his sexual needs, as a man, as a husband, if his wife knew that she couldn't, I guess, match that or meet that or meet his needs in that way, then why is monogamy requirement? Why does she want monogamy? Or so I think that's kind of the gist of it. I'll just leave it there. And so the conversation. So she shared in that clip, because I think it's about 6 minutes, the clip that went viral as a part of the larger episode. She was sharing about, at 24, 25, 26, when they met, and who she is now after childbirth, after just life happening, how her whole body has changed. It has changed her own drive and her own desire. And so the clip is really about what do couples do in that situation as it relates to like your sex life. And I think just overall physical intimacy when one partner's drive is in a particular place and the other can't necessarily meet that, but monogamy is the agreed upon value in that relationship.
Right. So it's like basically, so what I got from it, the clip that I listened to was expectations, right? So when a dude gets married, he thinks that, sex will be available at all times.
24/7.
24/7. Like, I'm ready. You should be ready. Like, we shouldn't. What are we waiting for? What is this? Menstrual cycle? Hurry up. Get through that. Let's get this going, right? Get it popping. And his take was it's different in marriage. It's not necessarily like that.
Yeah, but he's almost taking the point and saying, okay, you asked me, because that's what he was telling Kahdeen. He's like, you are the one that asked me to be married to you, right? To you said you wanted to be engaged. And I was just like, let's take a pause right there, right? I feel like that's problematic in a sense where he's pointing the finger in that she's the only one. He's not what do they call it? He's not at all involved in the process of marrying, right? Or wanting to be married. He's basing it off of, well, you're the one that said you wanted to be married and you were the one who wanted this. So because you're the one that said that, that means that.
Well, let's define what the this is. The this is you want me to be monogamous and celibate until we get married. Like,
no, not celibate. They weren't celibate.
I mean, monogamous. Yeah, they weren't celibate, but monogamous. You don't want me messing with anybody else. And then when we get married, now the conversation is, I'm tired. I don't feel like it.
Right.
I don't want to.
So let's go ahead and talk about those expectations. Let's take it from Jordaan and Chelsea. You guys are brand spanking new. You guys are brand spanking new. So
give them the horn.
So in terms of you guys making the decision to be married, what expectations did you guys go into marriage with in terms of sex?
Are our parents around? You're not here, right?
You want to go first? You want me to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. I think initially, you just think that you're going to be having sex 24/7.
Yeah.
When we start this thing, that's all we're going to be doing. And in reality, I think there's also like the reality starts to set in once you get into marriage that I think doesn't set in early on, that, at the end of the day, there's two individuals coming together with their own individual lives. They all, we still have work to do. You know what I mean? We still have responsibilities. And so we're bringing those items together. So of course, practically speaking, you can't have sex all the time. And because of like life, sometimes you do get tired, and sometimes, you're just not up for it. So I think going in, the expectation was like, we're going to have sex all the time. And then I think about probably like, a month in, we were like, all right, I see this isn't really realistic. I see this isn't realistic. We actually have to get work done. Our responsibilities don't stop, so.
Right,
yeah.
right.
I definitely think it's been different because, our marriage started in COVID. So like, we're always at home. So definitely like, it's not, if we're always busy or we were going out, like we're always home. So definitely, coming to that point saying, hey, yeah, our expectation is a little bit different, but having that conversation and just saying, okay, are we on the same page with this? How do we move from here? Like, what is the standard or what is going to happen moving forward?
Yeah.
Now, did you guys have that conversation prior to being married? And I'm not talking about did you guys have that conversation prior to being married?
Yeah, I mean, so
Kind of.
it actually came up in our marriage counseling in terms of, I guess, the question of like, what are our sexual expectations in terms of like, and really like specifically like sex drive, like what are things that interest you? What are things that interest me? And so we had kind of got that all out on the table from jump, kind of like early on before we even got married. So I think kind of going into it, we kind of knew, I guess, what each other's sexual expectations were.
Right.
So we weren't going into it like blindly.
Right. Yeah.
Got it.
That's good. That's good because a lot of people don't get that conversation, right? They just,
I don't think we did.
No.
Not that deep. It was more or less like a, are you willing to, it was like real general.
It was real general.
Are you able to, to meet the needs of your spouse
Yeah.
in a real general roundabout way? But it wasn't like a specific, like, yo, do you understand the dynamic between, do you understand how you work physically? And do you understand how you work physically? That was not a conversation at all for us. So the fact that you guys got that, kudos. Now, Tiffany, you're dating, right? Are those conversations being had for you? Real talk, in your context?
Coincidentally, so I have not had these conversations in the past, but it just so happened a couple weeks ago, my boyfriend and I actually had this conversation. Like, all right, let's keep it 100. Like, how much sex per week do you really feel like you want? Like, how much sex per week are you really looking for? And we were able to have that conversation, but that was the first relationship that I think we sat down and had that nitty-gritty conversation in. Because what happens is when you're dating, it's, as a Christian, the idea is, and I say the idea because I know a lot of people are not, not having sex, but it's like, yo, we're holding out for this period of time. So when we get married, it's like all that holding out, we need to like make up for it. Like,
calm down.
But that's the idea, right? Like, that's what they sell you. Like, this is going to be worth it because you're going to get all the sex back on the back end. So that's right. You're going to get it all back. So like, you'll be all right. You'll be all right because you're about to have like a year, 2 years worth of sex like crazy.
Yeah. all back.
want to happen. And it really doesn't happen. And I feel like when my girlfriend sent me this video and I listened to the episode, I felt like relief. Like, okay, woo, the truth is that I don't have to, because when I think about my life right now, I felt relief at not having to think about having sex every minute of every day, you know? And so I was like, okay, I'm not crazy. Like, this is not weird. This is not strange, because I love reading comments. So I'm in every comment section. And a lot of married people were like telling the truth. Like, yo, we connect with this video because it's actually speaking my reality or speaking how I feel. And people were sharing like one of us has a high sex drive, the other does not. But I felt like it was a relief to hear that, all right, don't get gassed. You know, like this is relax. Like you don't have to feel pressured about having sex all the time.
Yeah, listen.
Something that happens, that's a conversation.
Yeah, listen, there's a point in your marriage, in your life, where you have to schedule sex, right? Where you have to be like, yo, you free Monday? Like, I ain't got no meetings. You know, you have to start putting in your calendar, because life, especially when children come into the perspective too, it brings a whole different dynamic. But I think what's interesting about the video is, and what we're having the conversation is, you know, people enter into marriage with different expectations, particularly guys, right? Especially if you're a Christian young man and you holding back, you just think that when you get married that, hey, it's just going to be 24/7. And then some marriages, they get hit, you know, when they get hit with, you know, I'm tired. What do you mean you're tired? Let me wake you up, right? You know, like, or I'm not feeling it. So it's like, you know, what is he supposed to do? So he's confused, because he's just like, this is what, I didn't get married just for this, but this is a part of the package. Right. And I think that, let me just make a general statement, and this is not for everybody, that sometimes sex is thought of differently. Men think about sex differently than women probably think about sex. Right. And I mean, I'm sure there are some women who probably think about it the same way that men think about it.
I'm sure there is.
But, you know, just majority of men probably think about it differently, because, like, honestly, there's a scripture in the Bible that talks about don't hold back sex unless it's time for prayer, right? You know, so if I'm a God-fearing man and I'm reading the Bible, my word of God say you're not supposed to hold back, because we ain't praying right now.
Listen, and I think that's like the dynamic between men and women, right? And thinking about, sometimes for some women, sex feels like a chore. You know what I mean? I think it takes men a little bit easier to kind of get in it. Some women, their sex drive is on 50, right? Their sex drive is very high and they don't have that issue. But for people, I think the average woman, I think for myself, like, I don't feel like my sex drive is, I don't think it match our sex drive match. Sometimes we're off. Sometimes it does match. Sometimes it's like, whoa, he's a lot more like, let's get it in. And I'm more
I say no sometimes.
I can count on my fingers, right? Let's be real. I can count on my fingers. The likelihood is where I'm the one that's more or less like, and I think for women, sometimes it can seem like it is a chore. And just kind of want to speak to that. Like, what are your thoughts around sex being a chore or feeling like it's a chore?
No, I completely understand that. Like, I think we're around the same, maybe on the same level, but there are times where it's like, not right now. You know, like you might be doing something. Right. And I can agree with you, Carlene. I think is more so a no for me. More than I've heard a no from Jordan like twice. Right. Maybe once.
And that's probably because I was like super focused. Probably trying to like write a sermon or something.
Not now. You probably watch a sports or something. It's like, not now.
Right. Right. So I definitely think a lot of couples do experience it, but I think it's definitely a conversation that should be had. But I wouldn't say it's necessarily a chore, but maybe for some women it is. But definitely, like, you know, if we're not on the same drive, then I could see how that could present an issue for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have a question for the married people then, because obviously I'm not going to talk about sex being a chore. I don't know what you guys are referring to. So one thing that Kahdeen said was if she knew when they were dating the disparities in their sex drive, she might have made a different decision or might have approached their relationship differently. Do you all feel like, for people like me, that how would you have dealt with that in dating, or like what weight does that hold?
See, when you're dating, it's so different, right? The expectations, because you're thinking of, when you're thinking about marriage, you're thinking about something that you have never experienced, right? And so you're basing it off of something that you've probably seen on TV, something that you've probably read in a magazine, or like, you know, maybe other people are have shared what happens. And so that does not, the thought or the expectation doesn't necessarily meet the reality, because it's almost like a fairy tale land where I think when you are, and for Jamie and I, because we were at long distance, you know, like when we saw each other, it was like a buildup, right? It was like, and I think Kahdeen talked about it, where it was, and not Kahdeen, I think Duvall talked about it, where it was just like, yo, I'm about to see her. You know, you kind of feel that energy building, right? And then when you see each other, you know, you kiss or whatnot. But when you are always together, it changes, right? You don't look the same. You don't dress the same way you dressed when you were dating. Now everything is a little bit different. So perspective for when you are in it, it's a whole different story. And I think going in, I probably would not have thought, because I thought too that, yo, what?
Yeah. Right.
What else are we supposed to be doing? You know what I mean? Like, I want to be able to satisfy him, and I want to be satisfied as well. So that is quite obvious. But what I know now, I probably would, I would probably be honest and open about, but I didn't know anything about it. So that's kind of hard as well. Right. So it's like, I don't know what to expect. I don't know.
I think that sometimes we think the other person thinks the same way we do, right? So I think that Carlene probably thought that I thought about sex the way she thinks about it, right? And that, you know, marriage. So like, I've been into cycling. Shout out to my brother Jordan. He's got me into cycling. Right? And I've been watching Tour de France. And last night we were talking about this, like, Tour de France has like 21 stages, right? Marriage is the same way. It has different stages. And in every, you know, some stages in the Tour de France, you're going up a hill, some you're going straight. And I think like in marriage that people don't understand is that you go through different stages and the expectations change. So just like how she may think about like differently about sex, I may think differently about appearance. Like, yo, I didn't know you were gonna start wearing, you know, your hair plaited in one way and ripped up t-shirts. I
don't wear ripped up t-shirts. Or for
me, like when we were dating, man, I was always dressed to a T, like perfect. We got married, man, I be bumming it, right? Like I'll go out with some sweatpants and a t-shirt, and she's probably looking at me like this is not the same person that I married, right? But I think like, and her expectation was probably like, yo, he's always going to be dressed to a T every time I see him. And I think that's a part of marriage that we don't think about or consider. Like, there are different stages, and it changes the dynamic of everything. And
but if you knew what you know now about sex and those expectations and it not being met, do you think you would have committed to meet?
I would have committed. It would not have been a deal breaker, but I would have understood what I was committing to, right? Like I would have understood that, okay, it's not going to be something we do every day. We're not going to be like bunny rabbits. It's not going to be, as soon as I want it or as soon as you want it right now, right here, like let's go in the bathroom, or something like that. Like, like I would have that in my brain instead of having to deal with it in marriage, right? Because now we're married and there's no, like, it would be foolish to divorce over that, even though people do divorce over that. But, to be married and to be in the same room and I'm like rubbing on you and you turn your back, right? You give me the cold shoulder. It's like, right. So then now when you say like, hey, I'm not in the mood or whatever, it's understood. Like I walked into the marriage knowing that. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think I like what you said, Jamie, about like stages. And I think, and I love the point that you made that like oftentimes you just perceive that the person is like thinking what you're thinking. And I think that just goes down to like communication. And I think from like the stage of dating to the stage of marriage, we don't do a good job at communicating our expectations.
You are right.
We just automatically assume like, well, this person should just understand. You know what I mean? Like, the person should just understand my needs and where I'm at. And I think it's just important for just any form of relationship that you're in, that you're just really strategic about communicating. Because I think no matter what expectations you have in the beginning, like they're going to change. Like whether that's for sex, whether that's for like, what they're going to look like, when they go to the grocery store, like whatever it is, it's going to change. And so I think just being really intentional about just being, intentional about communicating kind of like expectations, like this is just where I'm at and this is what I'm expecting. And then having a conversation about that. I think it's a tough conversation, but I think it's a needed conversation.
Yeah.
A healthy conversation. And I think we need to have more healthy conversations about sex. Like, to marriage and even in marriage. Like, I don't think there's enough married couples out here, sharing. I don't think you have to share your whole sex life, but, just talking about, what happens in a marriage, the ebbs and flows that kind of occur. And
I think society like presents false expectations too.
Oh,
that's true.
Yes.
I think that's a huge like factor that we don't always consider. Yeah. That like, television be making it out like movies. Don't watch HBO.
This is the image that pops into my head, right?
Yeah.
Every shower scene, right, in the movies. And then when you are married, that joy is so not accurate. You're just literally like, yo, how are they doing?
First of all, most of our showers not even big enough for all that.
And another thing too is nobody argues and then starts ripping off each other's clothes. Like, thank you. That joint is not real.
It's true. It's not real.
Because there's a whole lot of variables into it that is not as easy. But it can be passionate and it can be wonderful. But I agree, the expectation. And then the other thing too is like, you can't get married just for sex, right? Or you can't get married with that expectation, because that's how like infidelity starts and stuff like that. Because if you're not getting it from your spouse, then you might try to go get it from somebody else because you need it. If you're like, you're saying I'm going to get married and because, now we're going to be able to be intimate all the time. Yo, man, you setting yourself up for pitfalls because you're opening the door to, first of all, you're opening the door to unrealistic expectations. And then now you're going to start looking for it in porn or start looking for it in somebody else. And then that's just disastrous. But there's a question in here that I think that's really good, right? So Rochelle and Kumba, shout out to Rochelle. She's watching on YouTube and she said, as kids come into play and life happens, why is it that men expectations of their wives doesn't change?
Wow.
That might, I guess we're the only people on here who have children, right? So we'd be the ones to answer that question. Why are you just staring at the camera? I'm looking at you. she's like, did you ask her to ask that question?
I sure enough didn't. I sure enough didn't. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the expectations don't change because your body is still there, right? The parts are still there, the vagina is still there, and why can't we still do it? You had the baby already. The baby's sleeping.
Gosh.
What, something I was there when the baby was born. It's still normal. It's still workable. It's still penetrable.
This dude. So when a woman has a child, their body goes through so many physical changes as well as mental changes, right? For the man, nothing changes, right? Physically, he looks the same. His physique is the same, right? Mentally, he may be going through a change in terms of, oh my gosh, I'm a dad now. Yeah. But when we think about mothers, we are bearing the brunt of childhood, of bearing children, even though it's something that we want, but it's just something that I was not prepared for. Let me speak for myself. I was not prepared for childbirth in a sense where I didn't take into consideration that my body, how much I loved the body post or pre, not post, pre-children, right? Mm-hmm. And thinking about going through all those changes, I had a C-section, so my body didn't feel well. Physically I was hurting and I was nursing. So my breast is engorged. My stomach is like no longer flat.
No, hold on, wait. Let's let the world know. I'm not animal, right? I was not trying to jump on you.
No. I know, but I feel it though. Chelsea's trying to say.
There might be some men trying to do that with their wives.
Exactly. There's still menstrual. The woman is nursing, and he's over here like, "Yo, let me get that."
Bro, you need to slide over a little bit. I was here.
And I think Kahdeen brought that up. I think she said that, I was pudgy. I had flesh in certain places that didn't exist before. And I didn't feel sexy. I didn't feel like Carlene. And so here he's over here like, yo, you mad sexy right now, yo. He's like, yo, you thinking all the right places. That is so inconsiderate. Like, I don't think he took into consideration that I just bore an entire human being. And so
let me defend myself. I am complimenting my wife, and I'm trying to let her know that, yo, baby, you look wonderful. Like, I'm loving all this. Like, I'm like, I like pre-children and I love post-children, right? So that's what I'm just trying to do, like, be the husband, because in her brain,
whatever, Theo.
I'm encouraging her because in her brain, she probably like, I don't like my body. Look what you did to my body. And I'm trying to say, I love your body. I love what your body went through. And it's still beautiful to me as it was before and right now.
But there's something in a woman's head that said, yo, he's just saying that just because, right? Go ahead, Jordan.
No, question, yo. I'm genuinely curious. So, like, what should we do? Like, cause I think I would have did what Jamie did. I think I would have been super affirming. Like, yo, you look amazing, babe. Like, I see you. Like, so I mean, I guess I'm looking for advice, because we don't have this.
Jordan trying to get it right. He's trying to be.
He's trying to be smart about it, and I appreciate you trying to be smart about it and getting ahead of it. I think if Jamie was, I know that he was supportive, he was whatever, but I think that if he could have been a little bit more sensitive to what I just endured, right? And for me, after having children or after having a child, the last thing I'm thinking about is sex. Like, that's something that's the furthest from my mind, because I'm going through so many changes. like there's no way I can think or process having something else on my plate.
Yeah, and crazy me, I'm probably thinking that should be the first thing on your mind. We haven't been able to do it in so long, right? Because you had kids, so we haven't been intimate, and I need that intimacy. I need to be able to, to feel you, to touch you, because I mean, good point. It's like when children come, the child controls your body, right? So the child is always on you, breastfeeding. And, there are stories where fathers get jealous of their babies because the mother is just so just so involved with the child, and the husband kind of gets, he's just a baby maker and gets pushed to the side. So, there needs to be that conversation about, what happens, how do we navigate through children and through sexual expectations?
Yes, I love what Regina. Hey, Regina. I love what she said. She said that sometimes you might not be mentally ready to have sex at that moment with your spouse, but surrendering yourself to be romanced can change your mood in the act. There are so many factors that can block your mind from even trying to say yes to even begin that act of intimacy. It's easier to say yes when you know your spouse genuinely wants to romance you. Yeah, it's not just about pouncing like, yo, let's get it on. It's about setting the mood, right?
Yeah, and this is where men are different from women in some ways, right? Because some guys are not. I don't got no time for no romance. Like, what do you want me to do? Put rose petals down and candles and all that stuff, man. Let's just get it done, because this baby about to wake up, and I know when this baby wakes up, I ain't gonna see you for like another 5 hours. Let's just get this through. So because by the time I romance you, right, we only got like a 4-hour window, because you got to feed that baby every 3 to 4 hours. I'm gonna be romancing you in the studio. I get it though, and I think that's something that we don't understand, right? Like I didn't know that when we had our first daughter. I didn't know.
Second other.
Come on. Yes, and you did say that.
Oh.
You don't get no points for the rest of the show.
I need horns.
You don't get no points for the rest of the show.
But Duvall said something similar in the episode, right? Like he was saying the turning point for him was when I guess they sat down and she explained to him what's happening in the body, like all the changes. And he was just like, I never knew any of that or never thought about any of that. And so once I understood like what was happening in her body, that's where I was able to fall back a little bit. So.
Wow. That's a really good point. And I think the man, Jordan, you just asked for advice. That's it right there. Like being able to be so in tune to Chelsea, knowing that, maybe she needs to be romanced right now. Maybe her feet needs to be rubbed before I, make the suggestion of you wanting to have sex at the end of that foot rub.
Yeah, and then in full transparency as well, there were moments where I felt like you wanted to do it because you felt sorry for me.
Yes.
Right. And so then I became like this charity case, and I felt cheap, right? Like, I don't want to be no charity case. Like, let me break you off. So you hold on, wait, let me
I'm trying to stop you.
No. This is what it said. It said, let me break you off so you can leave me alone, right? Because you're gonna go away. That's how you felt.
Yeah. And that's real. That's real. For sure. And I think that goes back to the chore part. That goes back to the expectations, right? That as women, we need to please our men. We need to pleasure our men in order to keep them interested, in order to keep them, keep them always keeping the monogamous or the monotony in the marriage. And I think that's where it goes back to. And so I guess my question to you guys would be those expectations, right? I'm trying to see where my question was. I just lost it. But those expectations that you have, like Tiffany, you have before marriage, Jordan and Chelsea, you guys have during marriage.
Yeah, I have a question, but go ahead, ask your question.
is the expectation, do you think the expectation is for the woman to be the pleaser, not pleaser, but for the woman to shoulder the idea or the thought that I need to be doing this, and this in order to keep my man, I hope I asked that in a way you could understand.
Yeah, I was, when I was listening to the video, I was kind of like, okay, so is he saying that he wants permission from her to cheat? Like, I was just kind of like, is he saying that, the monogamy is now some sort of a burden? And so
Right.
since we understand each other, like, can you just give me the green light? So then that then made me think about what you're raising here, Carlene. It's kind of like, all right, should she just match him to keep him faithful?
Right.
So I was kind of like, okay, is that what it's going to take? Even if you're not into it, even if you don't want to have sex, even if you're tired, just so that he doesn't stray, do you just kind of give in because you want your man to be faithful? So, my boyfriend and I did have that conversation, and he doesn't represent all men, but I think what he shared that helped me understand it was he's not asking for like a green light. He's just raising the concerns, right? Like, here they are on the table, and we should continue communicating with each other so that we're aware of what's up and how we might be able to compromise, where we might be able to meet each other. So in my current relationship, I don't feel that pressure. If I had a different kind of partner, because not all men can sit and have these conversations, right? If I had a different kind of partner,
Girl.
Currently I don't. So y'all keep me in prayer that this is gonna be my only partner, so I don't have the problems.
Receive it, Father, in the name of Jesus.
Do the Jordan.
But I did leave that episode wondering if, okay, to keep my man faithful, would I have to give in?
Yeah. So I don't know.
Wait,
did they want
Jordan
to
and Chelsea,
ask
you guys
another
wanna-
question?
Or Chelsea, do you want to take a stab at that?
So I think because I followed the both of them, and I think more so on Duvall's end, he really does think about sex a lot. So I do think, like, for him, I don't know if it's like this is really how you show me love or whatever, but it means a lot to him. And then for Kahdeen, I don't know if how do I say this? I don't know if saying yes, even when I don't want to, I'll do it just to keep you here. At the end of the day, I don't think she would want to give him the green light. I think she would just say, well, we just don't need to be together if this is what it is. It's a hard, I still haven't processed through the whole thing because it is a hard thing. You want to be monogamous with your partner, but I can understand the concerns. Like, we're not meeting each other where we are, but you're requiring me to be monogamous when you don't want to meet me here, So I'm still processing through it. It's really hard. It's kind of I understand what he's saying, and I get her in too, because she wants to still be with him, even if, she's not having sex with him all the time, but she doesn't want him to stray away either. It's hard.
Yeah. So I don't know, Jordan, you had something you wanted to say?
No, it's okay. It's okay.
All right. So
Are you sure?
I'm positive. I do have a question, but it's okay though.
All right.
How we come back to it.
All right. So here's my question, right? So I think I kind of see or hear what Duvall is saying, right? About you expect me, like, we got married and you expect me to be monogamous, right? And when we're married, you're saying no sometimes and we have to wait. So in that situation, what if you have a husband that is, he thinks about sex all the time and you catch him looking at porn, would you be angry? Because he's just like,
great question.
He's like, oh,
that's such a good question.
I don't want to go and sleep with another woman. I don't want to walk out, but look, we're not doing it as often as I would like. I understand you're pregnant. I understand your body has changed. And this is just something to break me off or to keep me calm until it's time to. Would you be angry? Would you think that he's cheating? Or would you say like, all right, I get it. I understand.
I think we first have to. That question is loaded. The comment section says. But all right, real talk. I think that first it depends on how you as a couple view pornography, right? Do you see it as cheating, or do you see it as, yo, this is how this is probably foreplay for us, or this is probably something that I just allow my husband to do, right? So it depends on what it is that's okay for your marriage.
Yeah, because there's some wives
because there are some wives who are just like, yo,
and some husbands probably,
and some husbands,
right,
who definitely are like, yo, have at it. If that's what is going to keep you calm, then let's do that. But I definitely is the question specifically for us, or is it hypothetical?
It's a hypothetical question. I'm even throwing it out to Facebook. If somebody wants to answer that question as well, like, do you get mad at him?
Wow. Natalie Andrews said it's called
the bathroom.
Go to the bathroom.
Hold up. I know our camera went off, but we're right here.
It's called go to the bathroom.
I think it really depends, right?
Yeah, so even that, go to the bathroom. Are you okay with that? Is a spouse okay with, yo, he going to the bathroom? I know what he about to do, right? And he's going to take care, handle his business, and then come back out? Or is that off limits? Does he have to be completely like Gandhi, throughout this whole period? A eunuch, right? Does he have to be a eunuch? And what are his options? What are his alternatives?
Tiffany, you were saying something.
No, I was saying, I don't know that I would have a problem with that. I think my concern is, I feel like Duvall is like a different case. Like Duvall wouldn't be someone that I could be with, because I would like when I watched the video, I just felt like he looked so distressed. Like he looked so frustrated about this thing, right? That for me, it was, okay, this is beyond like if you watch porn and you get it off some other way. It's kind of like, yo, are you mad? Are you frustrated? Like, are you unhappy and stuck in monogamy because your wife can't match your sex drive? Like that. So I feel like that kind of dude wouldn't be I guess a good fit for me. I wouldn't view him as compatible in that way. And I don't know if a lot of guys are like that, but watching him, I just felt like he looks frustrated. And so literally, like he looked literally frustrated. So like what would happen? What would happen if she never, I was thinking long term, like if she never matches his sex drive long term, what would happen to him? Like, how would he really manage that? And would it be as simple? And I know porn is not simple for some people, so I use that loosely, but would it be as simple as you watch porn and you are good? Or would it take more than that? Like would another person eventually have to be introduced?
I think it's a slippery slope, honestly, because I feel as though you're opening up something to not compensate, to substitute what is supposed to be natural, right? And I get the frustration. I get the fact that, he wants to be released, right? Real talk, right? And at the same time, I just feel like when you bring porn into the mix for us, I'm just not okay with it. Because I know with porn, those images, right, can become so addictive that you start asking your spouse to perform those very acts that you were going off on. You know what I mean? And then now you're matching. That's now the standard where it's like, yo, you have to be able to do these things in order for me to be pleasured. And then now that puts something else into the dynamic of your marriage that I quite frankly, I don't think I'm wanting or able to handle. So for me, that would be a hard no. But I don't know.
So then what would the dude do? Like Pastor Jay is saying. So then what would be his options?
Remember, it's the word of God.
I definitely think
You are not praying.
I think Chelsea was saying
Well,
something.
I was just saying it would be a hard no for me as well. But Duvall, like you said, Tiffany, is a very special case. But I don't know how many other men are out there like him. I do think there are marriages when people can kind of come together and like kind of talk this thing out, work this thing out, saying maybe, I think there was a couple on a Black Love a documentary. They said they just never go 3 days without having sex. So maybe trying to find a way to compromise somehow to like be able to please each other, because I don't think the answer for Duvall would, like, if it wasn't a monogamous relationship, I think he still will always be searching, and he might find another vice like, oh, I need this filled too, I need this filled too. So I definitely think he also needs to look internally. Like, I think it's more than just his drive. I think it's something else internally that he's like dealing with. And for Kahdeen, like, she's given him 3 kids. I mean, her body has really gone through it. And I can only imagine what she's dealing with eternally. And then having her husband saying, like, I have this high sex drive, and she's trying to manage her household, and she's at home with the kids and teaching them at home. And it's a lot. Yeah, I can only imagine.
I think like along the lines of kind of just touching on the pornography, I think even if, like, for example, Chelsea's like, well, you can just go watch porn.
Mercy, Jesus.
I think but I think, like, just generally speaking, I just think like that is a move in the wrong direction. Like, just like it doesn't solve the problem. You know what I mean? If anything, I think it just makes the problem worse. You know, and so I kind of agree. I think like what was interesting about the topic, it was like polarized. You know what I mean? It was like, no, I need this, and almost kind of like what Tiffany was saying, almost seemed like Duvall is like an extreme case where I don't think any matter of a compromise from Kahdeen would help. You know, I think it's like every time I want sex, and I need you to give me sex at these times that I need sex.
Right.
So, but I do think like there needs to be some level of compromise between like couples in marriage. Like, listen, this is my sex drive. And even if like your sex drive isn't as, close or equal to mine, like, can we somehow kind of meet in the middle?
Yeah.
Right.
But I do think like Duvall is, like you said, isn't a case where I don't think any sense of compromise for him would matter. I think it's just, I need sex when I need it.
And then
Well, I think, go ahead.
no, I was just saying for Kahdeen, I wouldn't want her to have resentment, like, like almost force me to have sex. And so I feel like eventually she could internalize this, like, I've been forced to do something I don't really want to do because my partner isn't understanding what I'm dealing with or how I feel.
Right.
Yeah.
I think when I listened to the entire podcast, he did make mention of the fact that when I think he played football in college, and when he would come see her, like, he was just like, get on.
All day. Yeah.
All day, right? And I think it was like every day. And her body could not take it. I think she had like urinary tract infection. She has like a whole bunch of stuff happening to her physically. She just could not hang with his sex drive. And I think not a lot of times, there are some times where women physically cannot handle that banging,
Right.
the banging every single day. Like, for some women, it's like they probably can have it multiple times in the day.
Right.
But for some women, one time is enough.
And to Duvall's defense, if that's what it was before they got married, he's going into it like it's going to stay like that.
And that's the expectations that a lot of men go through.
Right, because he's like, yo, why you changing? Like, what's up with why we didn't talk about this? Why are you flipping the script when we were constantly doing it before? Why does it have to change now? It should be we should be doing it more because we in the same house. You're not going back home. You're not sleeping somewhere else. You're with me now. So what's up with you?
But I think what he was saying, that that was his expectation, and he realized when they got married that it was not that at all. And he also spoke about, when married men get in a room with men that are thinking about getting married or are engaged, that the conversation is always, I think what he said, the conversation is like, yo, just wait. Like, you see things. Things will change. Never speaking to what exactly changes. And I think I guess the next question I would have is, if you knew what you know now, and I think I asked it before, but if a man sat down with you and said, yo, it's going to change. You're not going to, or it may change, or it's not going to be what exactly you thought it would be. It does not happen every day. It happens once in a while, maybe.
Yeah.
And of course, when kids come into play, forget about it. It's like non-existent. Like, if someone was real with you with that, like, would you be like,
yeah, and I know
would
that,
you second guess getting married?
And I know that we're doing it like the man as the aggressor, but things change for us too. And women have to deal with that as well. There's things called ED, erectile dysfunction. There's, God forbid, something medically happens where you can't do it as much as you were doing it before. How do you handle that? And so, because I think sometimes we go off with the narrative that women are just stronger sexually and they don't need it as much as men. Right. I don't know if that's always the case. You know what I'm saying? I think when a woman wants it, she wants it, right? And if a man can't give it to her, and that right there is like ego crushing for a man. If he cannot pleasure his wife or give to her what she wants when she wants it. And so we flip the table, like, what does that expectation look like? Are you willing to bear with that?
Are you willing to have your spouse, your wife, look at porn?
Hell no.
With women with this feminism and bodies and stuff like that, they do the I'm trying to not do the motion. But this is real talk. This is real talk. What do they call them?
You can say the word, the vi.
The bi-porn. Okay.
But then they say like women's sex drive peak in their 40s, right? So I was even thinking, what would happen? Like, eventually there's going to be a flip in their dynamic. Right? His sex drive might flip and peak, and his might not. And because sex is so important for him now, like you're saying, like, I was like, when it flips, he's gonna be crushed if he can't look like he used to. And now she's like, I want it, and you can't give it.
That's real, because I think it happens for men. Their sex drive slows down at about 40. And then women, I think a woman, they peak at that time. So that's a real conversation for sure. In that, what happens when a woman who is now not prior to that, she's like, chill, I don't know, I'm not ready, whatever. And now she's like, yo, I'm ready. I understand exactly what you were saying when we were younger. Now I'm ready. And he's like, I'm tired.
Now I'm tired.
And it's real. It can happen.
Yeah.
It can happen. He's not going to be the horse that he was in his 20s or 30s. Things begin to change, right?
And now she's the horse. She's the stallion.
So then what advice do you all, I mean, I don't want to ask you guys for advice, but what do you think for people who are getting married later, right? Like, I think about myself, I'm 33 years old. And so if you are, if you maintain the value of no sex before marriage, and you are in your 30s, 40s, just entering marriage and just entering that sexual space, and the woman is in one place biologically and the man is on the come down in another place. Like, how would you all advise people to navigate that?
Yeah.
You know, I'm kind of praying that the anticipation, of doing or having sex in the context of marriage, that maybe that will flip or switch. I don't know, honestly, what that would look like. I would just assume that maybe that built up whatever emotions would kind of last you both until, until I don't know when, but I don't know how to answer it.
I think it's always, you got to have open dialogue and communication, and I think like what we talked about, marriage has stages.
Yeah.
And I think it's good to talk about those stages, right? And not just wait till you get to the stage, right? So you're talking about, hey, this may be down the road, or this is what it is, so that you'll know that we're not caught by surprise.
Right.
And always open and being vulnerable in front of each other. It's Garrett.
I love Garrett.
Somebody's gonna drink peanut punch, Irish moss, and
I feel very strongly about my sea moss. I put it in my smoothies every day.
It doesn't necessarily have to die. And then, intimacy, and I think that's the other thing too, right? There's a difference between sex and intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's a difference and there's many different ways that you can pleasure each other.
Right.
And that you can meet each other's needs. And it doesn't just have to be that physical banging all the time. So, but that's through communication, right? Talking and being open and vulnerable with each other. That would be my advice to any couple. We probably should have had an older couple on this who, empty nest, because that's somewhere that none of us are as yet. Because what is your life like when the kids leave?
And you're older. Go get it on, because
them old folk be getting it on.
I think you just have to prepare your body for that too, as well. Exercising, eating right, to kind of stay fit for that. But yeah, Jordan and Chelsea, did you guys have any advice?
I think Jamie kind of touched on it for me, and I was kind of gonna mention it earlier when we were talking about like sex as a chore. And so my question, I was just processing in my mind, like, man, how can I prevent like sex being a chore for like Chelsea, or you know what I mean? And I think it kind of goes back to what you kind of touched on, that like there's more to intimacy than just sex.
Mm-hmm.
And so what initially comes to mind is like the 5 love languages, and like understanding what pleases Chelsea, you know what I mean? So I know for her, it's words of affirmation and quality time, and so just being intentional about, establishing those throughout the day, and just being intentional. And, realizing that intimacy is just a lot bigger than sex itself.
Yeah.
And I think about too, like before you were married. Some people do, have sex before marriage, but it's not all the time, I would assume. And there are certain things that are still drawing you together. So looking at those things, and maybe it is what your intimacy that is drawing, and like falling back on that, and seeing if that can be the common denominator of your relationship, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's good. You had something to say, Tiffany?
No, I was just soaking it up.
Yeah. I think sex is not everything, right? And if it were, then some of us would not be together.
Yeah.
But because we know that it's not everything, and as you guys said, there are other ways to find that.
Yeah, Gary Mitchell is going in on the comments. He says you both need to say what you need to make the sex good for each other.
That's true. That's true. Very true.
Yeah.
Having those conversations, what you like, what you don't like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, I thought Gary was saying we need to tell
the
public. No, but I think you read it right, Chelsea.
We know exactly what Chelsea said.
That's right.
We don't want nobody.
What you do is what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love what Carolyn said. She's speaking for Drew Baker. She says, or he says, to prevent sex from being a chore, you have to romance the relationship intellectually, physically, and so on.
Mhm.
Great point.
That's good.
Because sex is not everything. I think it's the glue. I think that intimacy
It's something.
definitely it brings it all together, but it's not everything for sure.
Yeah.
Now that you mentioned it, so
Gary's hilarious.
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Yeah.
I hope you're good.
my boy Gary good, yo. He got that peanut punch.
And it's so crazy. I remember going to a women's retreat, and the ladies were like talking about this green smoothie. And so me and my naiveness, I think Jamie and I just got married. Me and my naiveness, I was like, green smoothie. I was like, okay, that sounds like a really nice drink to drink, whatever. And so they went into this whole slew of, not only is it good for you, but it's good for your husband. And now these are old ladies. She's like, my husband, he drank green smoothie day, morning, noon, and night. And I was just like, okay, green smoothie, come on. I was like, oh, you might need to package it and put it in a bottle or something and sell it. Because at that point, when we were beginning when we first got married, I wasn't thinking us in our later years, like what would happen that we would probably need a green smoothie, And so I think that's something that's so important, important conversation to have.
I don't need no green smoothie.
You don't need no green smoothie?
Fam. I don't need no smoothie.
Okay. I can't. Marlene Patrick asked, what about your choice not to do something that your spouse might like?
This is my mom, by the way, guys.
Oh, okay. All right, let me keep it holy.
No. We keep it 100.
Yeah.
We keep it 100. So go in on her on this question.
So what about your choice not to do something that your spouse might not like? So I'm thinking from a male perspective, right? If a guy is asking his wife to do something that she does not like, I think some guys will probably be like, all right, as long as we can still do it. Like, but I think, I don't know. I think you need to respect that, right? I think number one, you need to respect that. If your wife or your spouse, let's just say spouse, doesn't want to do something that you're requesting them to do, you need to respect that and hope that it doesn't turn off the other person, right? It's like, hope somebody does not, they're like, oh, I don't want to do it no more because you just nasty. You're just nasty, Yeah.
Go ahead, Carlene.
Yeah, I definitely, that would be,
And that's like,
I'm definitely, just as much as I am very verbal or, like I think my opinion, vocal rather, I'm very vocal in terms of like, that is not working. Or, you know what I mean? Like, I think that it's your spouse, right? If this is the only person that you are completely naked with, right? Naked physically, mentally, spiritually, all that, right? And I feel as though you should, as a spouse, it should be okay for me to say, yo, I don't like that. And for you to not take offense to it or feel bad about it, but to say, okay, let's try something else. Let's try something else that works.
And I think when you're intimate, you know your spouse, right? And you should kind of know what your spouse likes and what she doesn't like through communication. And that can also be a red flag in some marriages because you have to be like, where are you getting these ideas from?
Right.
Like, what have you been watching? What you thinking about? So I think that it's always important to respect each other's body, communicate, and to and to know your spouse, and I think the longer you are together, the more you know each other, and then you begin to understand what is pleasurable from what isn't pleasurable.
All right, just wanted to Nikita Thompson, I just put the question on the screen. Okay, sorry, Chelsea Jordaan.
You want to go? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think like that's where like the sacrificial nature of relationships come in that like not taking it personal just because your spouse doesn't want you to do something, you know?
Right.
But I also think like it's also opportunity for you to get creative. I think the playing field of sex is very broad, you know what I mean? And so like you can get creative, you know what I mean? You can figure out other avenues, like different things to do. And so I think it's just, you know, being willing to be sacrificial and don't take it personally. And
Yeah, that gets horns.
Yeah.
That's right. Spice it up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Tiffany.
No,
Oh, sorry, Jordan. I mean, Chelsea.
No. I was just saying, I agree with that. He covered it. He got it.
Okay. Sorry about that.
I 100% agree with that. Like, even though you're married, you should be able to maintain boundaries in a relationship or set your limits. I think the other side of it that I talk with my girlfriends about sometimes, because Christianity has framed sex in such a narrow box that there might be some things that you are just opposed to or you think is wrong, when it's not really that it's wrong. It's just a way that you were told about something sexual, right? And that might also be limiting your openness to be free and explore and creative, like Jordan shared. So I think definitely partners have to respect each other's boundaries if it's a hard no. And I think if there are other ways to get creative, being aware that, you know, you have freedom to be spicy, to be creative, to like try other things, and not let it just be boring or stale or whatever.
Yeah, and if it's a hard no, it doesn't have to be like a turn off, right? Like
Right.
I don't want to do it no more. It's just I'm not into that, and respect that, right? To be like, okay, so what are you into? You know, what about this? So definitely important, you know, to know what does your spouse like, what do they enjoy, and being willing, as you said, sacrifice to do that for your spouse.
Right. What were you gonna say, Chelsea?
No, I was gonna say, I mean, you know, I think what Tiffany said, I think a lot of times we think things are like nasty or whatever, but as long as you are not purposely injuring your partner
or degrading
your partner, there is no shame or like if you like what you like, that's what you like. And if your partner likes it, good. But if they don't feel comfortable, have those conversations. But I think that's a whole nother conversation about like what we think is inappropriate. But when you're married, that's your marriage.
Yeah, exactly. As you were talking, Tiffany, about Christianity, like, oh man. So I remember growing up, and I don't remember if it was, maybe I shouldn't call names, but basically they were advising us as young people that when you are, I think Ellen White maybe says in messages to young people, that right before you have sex, that you should pray. And I remember my friends and I looked at each other like, like, how do you do that? I just want to know, how do you stop, you know, the motions, the you know, the emotions, right? How do you woosah?
Wait a minute, baby.
Wait. Right. And I remember thinking that's probably the craziest thing I've ever seen. But there were some people that were subscribing to that notion, right? That you just pray.
Look here. I ain't got no problem with praying before, because I'm gonna pray for a second wind, right? I'm gonna pray.
This dude.
I'm gonna ask the Lord for the strength to speak to.
You gonna ask for that divine strength.
Double portion of it. Like, I'm okay with that. But in between, I don't know how that part works.
In between, how about at the beginning? Like, do you guys think that that's something that you would incorporate into your space?
Well, I'll let them answer. Yeah, I'm okay with it.
With praying before.
If that's you, Chelsea and I are praying for, we pray all the time. So I don't think we need to stop and say, wait, we need to pray before we do this.
I don't get the reason behind it.
And that's my question too. Yeah, why?
I think the reasoning was like you're inviting God into this space, and
That's biblical.
He's always there.
That's unbiblical.
He's always there. You pray.
That's unbiblical.
Yeah, that's theologically incorrect.
He is omnipresent, so he is always there.
You're allowing him to be a part of your pleasuring, that you both will get whatever it is that you want it to be. They're just saying that the person was just saying that it's really important that you do that before.
Yeah, that sounds like a man-made rule.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
or a woman-made rule.
I mean, I guess show me in the text.
Right.
Where does that in the text?
Right. I don't read about Adam and Eve doing that. And he was in the garden with them.
Praying like saying grace before a meal. That's fine.
Yeah. Thank you. Bless this is what we're about to do. Like, I don't know. It's kind of awkward, but I think it goes back to like, I think Christianity has made sex seem like a dirty thing in our minds. And it's so dirty that we can't pray about it or pray before we do it, right? And I think that's something that we need to reverse that narrative. It's not a dirty thing. It's a beautiful thing between a husband and a wife that they can share. But, you know, some fanatics got some weird thoughts about it.
Pastor Ball 7 said, God is the inventor of sex. What's the problem with praying for a blessing God created?
There's no problem with that.
Yeah, that's no problem.
I don't have any problem with that. I think whatever a married couple wants to do, that's their prerogative. Some couples don't want to. That's their prerogative.
Right.
But I think, like, going back, I think the reason why some people may be afraid to do it is because they think, because we've been taught in church, sex is dirty. Society teaches that sex is dirty. It's not cool, but it's not cool. It's just a dirty thing. We don't talk about it. God does not sanction it or whatever, you know, just all these crazy thoughts. But
well, we know that God sanctions it, but it just feels as though like the church is not very much aware of the reality that there are people having sex in marriage and outside of marriage. And I think if I was educated about it, right, in the confines of church and not a soap opera or a movie or maybe a book, I definitely, my thoughts about it would have changed. You know, I don't think we are educated about it as much as
we're not.
Yeah,
as much as we should be. You know, it's more or less like, don't do it.
Exactly.
Don't have it. Because if you have it,
it's the shame that creates the shame in marriage, and that's why everyone is so confused, because we hear don't, but we don't talk about what you do when you do get married. We're so focused on what you shouldn't do before that, you know, people are just like, well, I'm going to do this anyway. Or when I get in the marriage, I don't know what to do.
Yeah. And then I've heard of couples who don't turn on the lights, you know, because they don't want to see each other naked, or, you know, they're more comfortable with it in the dark. And look, whatever you do in your bedroom, that's your bedroom, right?
That's your business.
That's your business. Don't mandate it for other people.
correct.
Right. Don't make it the general rule that all of y'all need to be doing it the same way. I'm trying to see what I'm working with.
Pray for this dude. This is off the chain, but honestly, this conversation can keep going into the wee hours of the night, because it is a topic. I think, I don't know, I feel so liberated, right? Talking openly about it, and not feeling like dirty about it, you know, not feeling like, oh my gosh, like we just had an entire conversation about sex.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be had even more in our, as I said, in our villages, in our communities, but sometimes on platforms like this, because there are young people who are doing it. And I think the expectation of, okay, when you do get married, the same expectation you had going into it is not the same that you're going to have when you get into it. Your reality is going to be something different.
Yeah.
So even having those open conversations and saying, yo, it's going to change. It's going to change. So I think it's just important.
Yeah, before we wrap up, like this right here. So Seth Yolorda said, what about E.G. White counsel about unholy positions?
First of all, what is unholy?
I never
don't
read
know
that.
nothing about A.G. White counsel about none of
I
that.
never read that book, and you know, I have to be very sensitive about this because she is the prophet of the church. But why is she writing about that? Like,
Has she? Stop.
He has tasted and seen and experienced.
So that, you know, there are parts of the Bible that we read and that we kind of like ignore, and that book I've ignored, right? That chapter, I don't know. I just know that whatever is, as Chelsea stated, whatever doesn't hurt your spouse, whatever your spouse respects, and that you have the utmost love and respect for that person. Yo, that's it. Because I don't know what an unholy position looks like.
He said, Seth said missionary position.
That's
That's the only acceptable.
That's the holy one. That's the holy one, my brother. If that's
But that is so real, because I've had conversations with friends of mine who are married and talked about how long it took them to get over or get comfortable doing other things than missionary positions, right? And these are like young people that, you know, are existing in the world that we exist in with a plethora of resources and input, but still like that shame ran so deep, and how that you know, how you were socialized, how you were taught, that even after marriage, sex still felt uncomfortable. It still felt like bad and nasty, even though you were now married. So a lot of that training and teaching really messes with people even after marriage, which is so sad to me.
Yeah,
you are right about that.
You can hold that. Like, don't come around here. Yeah, that's yeah. I want to say a lot more.
I mean, goodness.
That's according to her. I don't even know if she was under inspiration when she wrote that, because there were a lot of things that she wrote that was, you know, just her thoughts.
It's a comment.
Right. But yeah, no lights, missionary under sheets. Lord of mercy.
Listen.
I mean, that takes me back to like when couples sleep in opposite beds. But
Right.
Yes.
Things have changed. We have to really start thinking about stuff that we've been taught. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, this ain't.
If I mean, at the end of the day, that's you. But
Right.
I know for me in my house, we talking about chores. Like, turn off the lights, blank in one position.
Yeah. And I think that's how remember we watched that show Unorthodox.
Yes.
I was just thinking about that show. That's
Right.
what came to mind.
Right.
Listen, that's on another level.
And they still practice that. That is still like a
do.
regular thing. They don't sleep in the same bed. It's only for
No, but even when they have sex,
Yeah.
it is like she's fully dressed.
right.
Mhm.
Right. Fully dressed. And that seems like that's what would be holy, right? But you gotta remember, and the White was writing in a context and a time. Nah, let me not even say that. People was getting it in back then in the
Y'all, they were
1800s.
nasty.
Because you read the Bible. The Bible is not the book of the Song of Solomon.
Yes.
Okay.
The Song of Solomon is graphic when it comes to sex,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, but yeah, as Jordan stated, as for you and your house, whatever you want to practice, everything is holy and respect. As long as it's respectable, it does not hurt your partner. There are positions that can probably hurt each other. We don't want that. We want you to live to see the other day without any broken limbs, or whatever, because it's supposed to be enjoyable.
Yeah.
That it definitely is. But yeah. Wow, guys.
That was loaded.
What is it, an hour and a half?
Yeah, about an hour and a half.
We're almost like 2 hours
Yeah.
in. But this has been a fantastic conversation. I think it's just the beginning, honestly.
I'm sorry. Do you see what Theo wrote? So This is in response
Oh my
to
God.
Ellen White, right now. She probably got the pen and pad real quick. Like,
Whoa, slow down.
Oh my goodness.
That's unholy.
you too far, brother. Let me say every marriage now on.
Oh my God. Lord help us. Lord help us to kind of to do things differently and hope that the generation coming up after us are a little bit more prepared in terms of sex, because that's what it is. It's preparation, right? And definitely communicating what those expectations are, naming them as much as you can, but understanding the dynamic of marriage in terms of what Jamie said, the different stages that you go through in life, and being able to move along those stages and know that with marriage, with any relationship, it's always moving, right? It's always changing, and accepting your partner for who they are and loving your partner for who they are, and not necessarily thinking that your neighbor is having better sex than you are, or vice versa. Knowing that your marriage is, and I think a lot of times based on this conversation, I feel as though sometimes we generalize marriage, right? And not focus on the dynamic between the two individuals that are involved. Like, what works for Jamie and I may not work for Chelsea and Jordan. What works for Jamie and I may not work for Tiff and her boyfriend. So you just have to take your relationship for what it is and try to make the best of it, because this is all trial and error. There are no manuals.
No blueprint.
There are no blueprint to this life. So just try your best. Pray and ask God for leading, for sure. But yeah, those are my final thoughts. Do you guys have any final thoughts for the people before we sign off?
I just think this was a great conversation, and we need to be having more of them.
Yeah. I think so too. And I think, like you all said, we just have to do a better job at educating people on, the practical aspect of sex and also the spiritual aspect of sex, and so, yeah, we appreciate you all just having this platform and inviting us to be on.
Yeah. Great chat. I agree. We need to be having much more of these conversations. And I think it's a unlearning process and relearning. And that's, just kind of what I would leave in the space. What might we need to unlearn and relearn so that we're comfortable with these conversations and these experiences overall.
Yeah, absolutely. So, guys, thank you for coming through on the drop of a dime, and for just giving your expertise and your wisdom. We truly appreciate you. And to the people out there listening, married people, keep having sex. Don't stop. Get it as much as you can. Tiffany, we're praying for you to cross that threshold so you can don't stop. Get it. In the name of Jesus. Yeah, but we love and appreciate you guys. And this is Carlene and Jaime.
Wait, no rap today?
Nah, no rap. I'm like exhausted.
Oh, wait, bro. We ain't gonna hear no 16. We ain't gonna hear.
Oh, snap. All right. Streets is asking. I'm gonna freestyle.
Yes, sir.
You don't have to freestyle about sex.
Okay.
So.
All right. Let me get the people that have been asking. Give them the applause. Hit them with the horns. I'm in my grizzly. People be asking, yo, who is he? I say, yo, mind your busy, because I don't want to make you dizzy. Yo, the newest girl back in the day, her name was Lizzie. Lizzie liked to drink the natural sodas called Izzy, and it got real fizzy. Yo, what do I say? Yo, check me as I get busy. We had a conversation. I'm about to go, what's next? We were talking about that thing. Y'all know it's called sex. Suplex. We don't want to bring that into the bedroom because that may not be the best. You might get hurt and blow up your chest. Let's understand what practices are best. You got to romance and even dance your wife then you'll be blessed. Yo, don't be stressed. Get it out when you can. Don't hold it back from your man. Understand he need a plan for what to do next because he don't want to be in the can. Please help me as you're watching me, looking at me. Baby, can we go inside the bathroom, please, so I could ease myself of this wicked stress? I don't want to go and find it nowhere else because I understand that I got to get this going. My mind is blowing. I see Jordan and Chelsea. Yeah, they are healthy because they get it in and they gonna be wealthy. Tiffany LLewellyn, yo, we spelling. Brown, we be smelling, praying for her and her boyfriend till the end so that they can get it in. You know what I mean? So, yo, I'm out of here. This your boy Jamie. Peace.
MC Jamie just laid it for
Yo.
I can't.
Gotta give the streets what they want. You know what I'm saying? Then the people requested it. So, yo.
It's Carlene's face, like her face.
Bro, you represented New York well.
Yeah, man. You know, Nas wanted to do a little album with me, but I told him I'm not going to do like an album. I'm gonna stick to. I like giving my product out for free. You know what I'm saying?
Yo,
I'm gonna pay for it.
That is why you say nothing at the end of his rap. You just let him go.
Yo, Jordan was waving the flag.
Yo, I was
feeling it. He was feeling it.
All the way.
Fire bars, fire. You got the comment section is going nuts right now.
Yo, viral. Yo, we viral right now.
Yo, I'm about to be on World Star.
We got 53 people watching, but we viral, right?
Right.
Okay. On that note, we have come to the end of our show. Guys, next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.